morning, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Adam. As he mentioned, I have been an entrepreneur for actually going on 11 years now. And I've met people who were like, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I was not one of those people. I went to college to get a job, got said job, and it just didn't turn out the way I wanted. And so it came to the point where I decided I needed to make my own choices and my own opportunities. That was me pausing. And then, so as Adam mentioned, I've been doing this for about 11 years, but about 4 years in, I basically decided to start over because what I was doing wasn't working. And I honestly think that's one of the biggest lessons you could learn as an entrepreneur is that, after you put time into something, it might be hard to let go, change it, or burn it and start over. But sometimes that's just what you have to do. Things change. You need to be able to stay flexible and, pivot as needed, and know that the fact that you have to make those changes doesn't mean that you failed or that you can't do this, because that's definitely not the case. So, that's one of my big things. And even since then, when I decided to go and focus on website design about 6 or 7 years ago, that's what we've been doing for the last 6 or 7 years. But there have still been a lot of changes along the way. We launched a project to help with the military community. I've been doing things like this to be able to give back. So things are constantly changing, and that's fine. And the other thing to consider is that why you started is as important as all the decisions that you're going to make, because I started this because the job that I took out of college threatened my health in a very urgent way. And so I decided that a job was not worth my health, and the job was not worth the stress it was putting on my family. So I created my business so that I could run my business around my family. And I know a lot of you are also parents and trying to do this business for your family. And so you have to consider that if sometimes your family has to come first, that's exactly why you started this. And that's okay, because I think a lot of people struggle with that. Or at least I have. Okay. So that's the other one of the fundamental lessons I think would be important to keep in mind, right? Know why you're doing this and what you're trying to accomplish, and then everything should kind of fall from that. So if you're trying to make more money to be able to send your children to school, when you have these hard days where you're like, it doesn't feel like anything's working, you can kind of come back to that and say, this is why I'm doing this. This is how I can get back on track, and then just focus on doing that next right thing that's going to get you back on track. So you've been meaning to try something new so you could sell more and reach more people. Go do that. Whatever small step you could take towards that, just do that. Don't focus on what didn't work before or what you haven't been doing, and just get back to where you're doing it and keep going. And then, so I think the other thing that I've learned time and again, working as an entrepreneur, is that boundaries are very important. And that's in how you deal with people and how you run your business. So if you want to sell things a certain way, like you only want to sell products in this batch because that's how you can do it, then that's how you do it. Because when you keep if you try to do things differently every single time, it's going to get really, really hard to try to accommodate absolutely everybody. So you have to figure out who you're trying to sell to, make it easy to sell to them, and focus only on that thing. You can always do more later, but when you're just getting started, you need to figure out what's your best bet for being able to sell and focus on that first. You can always worry about doing more down the road. But when you try to do too much, usually you get overwhelmed, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm not really doing anything at this point because I'm too busy trying to figure out what's supposed to be happening and when. So yeah, I think that's been one of my biggest things too. And I think the other thing is, especially if you are an entrepreneur running a family, but even if you're not, uh, taking care of yourself is so important because it's easy to work all the time without stopping, especially when it's because, oh, I'm doing this for my family, or oh, I'm doing this because I love what I do, which is great. But without somebody to step in and tell you, hey, you need to stop working now, or hey, enough is enough, you can take a break, it's easy to just keep going and going until you realize, oh, I'm burned out. I can't do this anymore. And then all of a sudden you have to figure out how to recover from that before you can do the next thing that you were working on. So it's important to take care of yourself along the way and not get so caught up in doing the work that you forget about that. Okay. And then, so the other thing that I've learned as an entrepreneur, and I think it basically applies to whatever you're selling or whoever you're working with, is to make it, to sell your product, right? I know that sounds really basic, but you're only going, people are only going to buy from you if they know how to buy from you, and then if you ask them to buy from you. Because the fact is, if you show up to, say, a market and you have all this stuff to buy, but you just kind of sit there and you don't actually tell people, hey, this is my thing, it's right here, you can pay me this much and then you can have it, then nobody's going to know to buy from you. And the fact is that you have to make it easy for them, because unless they already know who you are and what you're selling, it may not even occur to them that you have anything for sale. And I think that's one of the big things that gets lost, right? You have to ask people, you have to offer what you're selling, and then you have to make it easy for them to buy it from you. So the other thing about my business journey is that, as I said, it's been evolving a lot. And, I think that you have to figure out where you are and what you can handle right now. Like with what's going on with the pandemic, I started homeschooling my daughter. And so that's a whole big piece of the puzzle that didn't exist before I had to do that. So you have to consider where you are right now, what you can do right now, and start from there so you don't get too overwhelmed, and be ready to change as the situation changes, as it always does.
So how do we start? So she's doing this.
Hi.
Hi.
Are we just going to should I wait for you to finish? Because someone has a burning question.
Oh, no, you can go ahead and ask now. You can ask now.
This is Regan Atongo.
Hi.
Yes, I'm selling sausages. Yes, I Yes, I make sausages and sell.
Uh-huh.
Yes, so there's a question that I want to ask you as an entrepreneur. Yes, what are some of the challenges you do face, more especially in the beginning of your business?
The biggest challenge that I faced in the beginning of my business was knowing what I wanted to do.
Okay,
So I spent the first 4 years
okay,
constantly changing my mind. And it wasn't until I decided I want to focus on this thing, websites, that things really started taking off and I was able to kind of focus my energy. So if you know what you want to sell and you know people want to buy it, you're already like you're already like halfway there, honestly.
okay.
Mhm.
This- Okay, so how did you identify, that which you wanted to do?
So I actually went to a like a conference where we were with other business owners, and the people that were leading it asked us, "What is it you want to do?" And I was like, "Now that you mention it, I really like building websites." And they're like, "Oh, you should just do that." And I was like, "I should just do that," because I honestly don't know why it took so long for me to stop and think about it. But I have been fiddling with websites since I was like a teenager. So it was actually a very natural thing for me to transition into.
Okay, that's good, interesting. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have some questions over there, Chim?
No, we can proceed for now.
Anyone else got any more questions?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, it's fine. You can interrupt me.
No.
Okay, so to follow up on like what he had asked about my challenges, I think the other challenge is especially when you're running a business on top of living your life or raising a family or whatever else it is that you are trying to balance at the same time. I think it's easy to get lost in what's actually happening. So it's important to set goals and then kind of break down how you're going to meet those goals and then track what you're doing towards those goals. Because you may not be able to control how much money you make to some extent, but you can be like, I'm going to make this much. I'm going to go to this many places to talk to people. I'm going to do these things. And those are the things you have to focus on. So even when you aren't quite getting the results, at least you can know these were the efforts that you made. Because otherwise, the days pass so quickly, you might be like, I haven't done anything. And it's easy to get discouraged when things aren't turning out exactly the way you thought they would. Oh. Okay. Hi.
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 Her name is Noria. She wanted to find out about
We can't hear you, Chim.
okay, sorry. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay, so I have a lady, her name is Noria Chanda. She wanted to find out the challenges you have in your country regarding sourcing finances for your business, like capital.
Honestly, most of my business has been fully funded by me and maybe like a loan here or there. And those loans I was able to get because they were based on sales I already made. So I made this much, they were willing to give me a certain percentage, and then I paid back from every sale I made from there on out until I paid it off. So I haven't really hit a place where I have to go get funding beyond what I just did. But that's because my husband has basically been supporting my business. But I think anybody who's trying to source funding would tell you that one of the best places to start is to be able to tell them why you need that money and how you're going to be able to pay it back. Like, I think that basically applies in any instance that you're going to find. Same thing with, you know, even this program where you have to be able to really sell yourself and say, well, this is why I need the money. This is what I'm going to do with it. And this is how I'm going to be able to do more with what you're going to be giving me.
Business nayo sana nonga tatukumanisha okusanga ekyo ngaba business nintendo.
Hi. Sharon. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
So this is Sharon.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so Sharon wanted to get advice from you regarding how she runs a restaurant.
Move a bit closer, Jim. Just a little
Okay,
bit.
so Sharon, can you hear me?
You're
So
good.
Sharon runs a restaurant, so she wanted some advice regarding how she can grow her business apart from
Did you get that, Patricia?
No.
All right, can you repeat it one more time?
Okay, Sharon is
There you go.
asking. Yeah, so Sharon was trying to find out. Okay, what advice would you have for her? She has a restaurant on how she can grow her business.
What does she do?
She has a restaurant.
Oh, she has a restaurant. Okay. So I don't have much experience with restaurants, but honestly, I think it's the same thing as anything else, where if you do really good for the people that are already there, then that's a good way to get the word out and get more people in. Because the majority of my business has been through meeting people and them referring people to me. Like, I haven't spent a lot of money on marketing my business aside from just connecting with people and showing up and treating the people I already work with really well. And also, if you kind of encourage people to talk about you and reward them for that and reward them for showing up over and over, I think that's a really good way to get people in the door and to keep them coming back.
Okay, I think for now we can proceed.
I am back.
Okay.
Thank you. I just want to find out how is your business moving this time around? You know, the issue of coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you know, it is critical, you know, to find customers this time around. So I don't know you people, how you are moving with your businesses.
I mean, my business hasn't necessarily been affected because of the fact that I do most of my work online. And honestly, a majority of my clients don't even live near me. So it's not an issue for me. But I understand it's an issue for other people that have to do like face-to-face stuff, or like the other person who's running a restaurant. And I know COVID has hit those industries like really hard. So I think it all depends on what you're doing and how you can kind of pivot as much as you can, because again, you have to be able to kind of roll with changes as they come. But I think honestly, it's just being there for whoever still shows up for you, right? Because I think far too many people forget about their customers in pursuit of a bottom line. So as long as you keep showing us saying, hey, we're here, we're still trying to serve you, like you're going to stand out above those other people for sure.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you so much, madam.
Mhm.
Thank you.
We can proceed.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I think they said that we were only going until 10. So I think just to wrap up, like basically everything that I've learned in the last 11 or so years that I've been doing this, and again, it applies to basically any business that you're in, is to just know what you're trying to sell, who you're trying to sell it to, and then just go tell as many people as you can about what it is. And then be ready when they say, yes, I do want to buy from you, because I think too many people go into this thinking nobody's actually going to want this, right? So then they aren't actually prepared when the time comes for them to deliver whatever it is that they've been trying to sell. So I think just those things alone puts you in a good place, on top of what I said about setting goals and making sure to always take care of yourself. Like those are the things that I keep coming back to no matter where I am in my business and what's happening.
Okay, any other final questions over there, Chim?
David, no question.
Yeah.
David, no question. Oh, no question. Any question? Nothing.
Nothing? All right. Well, if you don't have anything else to put in, Patricia, well, I guess that's about it. If you guys want to get wrapped up, and yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow for the next boot camp. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Have a good day.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.
Bye.